What's up, Internet? I'm Matt Guff from thehouse.com, and I'm here with Bill Sympson. Bill, how you doing?
Doing great, Matt.
It's a good day. A while back, I asked Bill to kind of come in, bring some of his old gear that he had back in the late 80s. Bill's from the Minnesota, or the MSP, Vintage Snowboard Trader crew. There's a lot of vintage snowboard traders around the world.
Right.
We have an awesome crew of guys that's here in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And Bill's one of the heavy hitters with like an awesome quiver of boards, and he brought in this. And this, Bill, what is this here?
What we got here is a 1989 or so Avalanche Kick 165 Damian Sanders Signature Edition. At the time, Damian Sanders was one of the big freestyle guys that you can see. I'm known for huge backflips, tweaked out backflips. If you want to check it out on YouTube, look up some old FLF videos, critical condition, snowboarders in exile.
Yep. And I know Damian always rode, for the most part, in hard boots, not in freestyle, like soft
but not
boots.
ski boots per se, but Koflak mountaineering boots.
Okay. Really?
Like you would use for alpine touring skiing, that kind of stuff. So they had a little bit more freedom to them than a normal set of downhill ski boots.
Got it. And this is a 165, Damian's pro model, but he actually rode, you said, like a 170?
Yes, he was on a 175. Yeah. So
which
a
sounds
little
crazy.
bit longer than this.
Yeah,
it sounds insane.
Yeah, in today's world, like the average kid rides like a 54 to like a 55. A 58 is considered big. This is massive in today's world.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, back then we really were of the mindset that longer is better. And, this board only came in 3 different sizes, a mini 145, the 165, and 175. There was none of this incremental sort of working your way from 155 to 158. Sort of.
Yeah. So what would you say that this board is designed for? What kind of riding? All mountain freestyle specific?
This would be essentially, at the time, Avalanche's freestyle board. I mean, they still made their flex boards, which were literally ironing boards.
Sure.
And so this would be probably just simply their freestyle board. It has a kick tail to it, so you can go backwards. It's not a twin stance, though.
Yep.
But it would be something that, this is what Damian would ride, and their other pro riders would ride, doing big mountain riding, half pipe riding, or just launching themselves off cliffs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a directional twin board, which is great because, like, you see the stance is set back, and you said that this deck actually didn't come with a mounting pattern. You had to bring it into a shop, and they'd have to like drill it out for you. They had like kind of like reference stance.
They have a reference stance,
and then you kind of had to know how you wanted to stand because you couldn't really change it after that, right?
Right. Yeah, and bindings at the time didn't have a lot of adjustment either, so you really had to have the holes mounted where you wanted. This board is set. And it looks like 0, I'm going to guess 20-ish, 25?
Yeah, right.
How do you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. And it does have a pretty stiff flex rate. I stood up, kind of flexed it out, and today that'd be like a 7 or an 8. That's pretty darn firm.
And this is really then soft compared to their other board in the line, which you would not be able to flex.
Yeah, you have, what's that other board called?
The one I have is a couple years older. It's an RFX.
Sure.
And you can't flex it.
It's a wood door.
It's a big door. It's like half an inch thick at its thickest, and you can't flex it.
Wow.
So this one, even though is stiffer than most boards on the market today, you can flex.
Wow. And it's cool because even though this is like an old deck from the late 80s, it had a camber profile.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Now, it says that it has like a couple of different things on it. It said vertically laminated core, which is probably wood. And you mentioned something about there being aluminum in here. It says aluminum on there. You said there might be aluminum under where the bindings are?
That's my understanding, that it's not aluminum, like a layer of aluminum through. I think that would be even weird for them.
Yeah.
But I think it's just there's aluminum, like an aluminum plate in here, which helps hold the bindings in.
Sure.
I mean, under extreme conditions, you're still going to pull them out. I've done that. And kind of then your day's over then because you can't nothing to hold on to. So you'd have to probably re-drill them then. I really don't know.
Sure. Man, and by the looks of the base too, it looks like a sintered style base. You got it already waxed up.
Yeah, it's got a layer of storage wax on it. But I remember it was a sintered base. I had one of these. This is what I rode in from about 89 to probably around 93.
Sure.
And I think I remember it being a sintered base. I don't think Avalanche was going with epoxy, extruded bases at the time.
Yep. And then the steel edge. Now, I had thought that for sure it would be a 360 wrap steel edge, but you pointed out that it actually ends on the tail.
Yeah, and I've been noticing that that's pretty common with a lot of these old boards.
Sure.
That if they'll just, some of them will be just along from like past contact point to past contact point.
Yeah.
Or it'll be just wrap around the nose and then not the tail.
Wow. Now, is this the board that you rode in '89?
This is not the actual board I rode in '89. It's
Okay.
identical to it,
Sure.
including the stance.
All right.
But I do still have that old board, but I was a kid. I painted it, sanded it, sanded it. So the graphics are long gone.
Yep. So how does this thing ride? You bring this out to the hill, you make a couple laps on it. Like how do you remember it riding?
Well, I remember it riding, easier to ride than the one prior to that.
Okay.
But now when you ride it, it is harder. It is hard to control.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had like a nice powder day in the mountains,
Sure.
I'm sure you could get away with a lot more. But in our Midwest ice or hard pack,
Yeah.
it's a little bit hard to ride. And you ride some of these older boards, it's got such a minimal side cut
Yeah.
that a lot of times you'll start a turn and the board will change its mind on you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Yeah, I actually remember the first time I rode a snowboard. Well, the first time I rented a snowboard, I hated it. It was so hard. It was so hard. Like I get on it and I kind of start going, and then it would just like flip me around to switch. Like how? It was so difficult. So I can definitely imagine a board like this kind of having a mind of its own. Almost.
Yeah, I remember each one of my boards, like going on, each one I would get would be easier to ride than the last one.
Sure.
A lot because the technology would be changing so quickly at the time. And now when I go back and try those boards out, they're all so hard to ride.
Yeah. Well, awesome, Bill. Thanks so much for bringing this in. Always a pleasure.
Same here, Matt.
Yeah. So, guys, make sure to check out some more of the videos that we're going to be doing with like some vintage snowboard guys. We'll have Bill back, of course. Again, this is an Avalanche kick freestyle Damian Sanders pro model board in the 165. A lot of cool history comes from this thing and Bill, of course. Thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure to subscribe below, and we'll see you guys again.